My dear students and young job seekers, welcome back to this new video titled Job Interview Open-Ended Questions. As you know, we have started with a series of short videos that will help you out in preparing for your interview, PI rounds, right? So this is actually the fourth short video on, interview, PI, right? So in one of my previous videos, we had listed out a few types of job interview questions, right? They can be open-ended, they can be closed-ended, they can be probing questions, there can be reflective questions, there can be loaded questions, there can be hypothetical questions, there can be stress-inducing questions, deliberately, creating some stress. There can be behavioral questions and many more. So we will slowly go into each of these in separate short videos. Today actually I intend to discuss in this particular video about open-ended questions. Why are these put? What they are basically? What is the objective of asking such type of questions? And how best you students or job aspirants rather can better respond to. Okay, so here we go. First of all, let us see, what these open-ended questions are, right? They are basically a type of questions that prompts respondents to give comprehensive, detailed answers instead of a straightforward yes or no answer. Okay, if you are responding yes or no, then obviously that becomes part of the closed-ended questions. But today we are discussing open-ended questions. Now, what is the objective? Objective of asking open-ended questions in a job interview is basically, with an intention that you should be able to share in little bit greater detail about your background, your skills, knowledge, experience, accomplishments, your values, all these leading to a deeper insight about you, right? Based on which they are going to take some decisions regarding your outcome, interview outcome, what I mean. So closed-ended questions, right? On the other hand, they have limited responses, okay? And they have a specific range of choice for the respondent to respond. They are very concise, they are definite answers, but open-ended, as I said, they have a richer discussion potential. You can, the interviewer and interviewee, mutually they can establish more meaningful connection if they are adopting a open-ended questions answer system. Okay. Now, but then let me tell you here, open-ended and closed-ended questions at times converge. Okay, they can be integrated. Okay, they are not always mutually exclusive, what I mean. Okay, now I will explain you just shortly there. Interviewers often what they do is rephrase closed-ended questions and ask open-ended questions, giving the opportunity for further elaborations. They start with a closed-ended one, but immediately follow it up, rather suffix the question with something that makes it a open-ended questions. Let's take an example here. Okay, an interviewer is asking in a job interview, describe yourself in one word. Okay, so the respondent or interviewees may respond in this way, right? Dedicated, analytical, innovative, curious, energetic, optimistic, right? And obviously you are, prefixing which you don't spell out. I am dedicated, I am analytical, or I am very innovative, I am curious person, So all these you say in case of a closed-ended questions. The very same questions can be converted into a open-ended questions when they ask you, when the interviewer, ask you in a different format. How can it be? describe yourself in one word. It's not full stop, mind you, it's a comma. Describe yourself in one word and explain why that word perfectly speaks who you are. So, the second part of the sentence converts the very same closed-ended question to a open-ended one. Okay? Similarly, let's take another example. The interviewer asks, what is your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Strengths and weaknesses. Here also you may share a single word answer because it's a closed-ended. So, what will be your response like? Leadership, creativity, resilience as part of your strength. Likewise, to describe your weakness, you may also use single word. Likewise, perfectionist, impatience, right? That means I am impatient, right? I want to complete the job, right? That's what could have been in the second way, that is open-ended one. But here say I am impatient, right? I am a perfectionist. Okay? These are all closed-ended answers to the question obviously was closed-ended. But to avoid closed-ended response, interviewers may rephrase the very same question in this way. What is your greatest strength or weakness and why? So, he is suffixing the why, right? So, you have to not only state what is your strength and weakness in single word, but you have to elaborate, you have to explain that. Okay? Now, open-ended questions are basically prompting you, right, to show your self-awareness, your communication skill, right? When you as an interviewee is encouraged to elaborate, right, what you need to do, you have to provide some context, you have to demonstrate your ability to express complex ideas. Likewise, you have to present specific examples or illustrations, right? These are part of open-ended answers, obviously to the open-ended questions. Now, let's see why at all the recruiters are more interested in open-ended questions. Okay, initially I gave you some hint, but let us list out what are the reasons. First of all, it is used to obtain a more complete picture of your capabilities, including your soft skills, interpersonal abilities, cultural fit, cultural fit with the organization culture, right? Secondly, these questions will better be able to assess your action and reaction in specific situations and also the outcome of your action and reaction. And thirdly, through open-ended questions, recruiters can assess your unique qualities, if at all any. So, these are principal reasons why they ask you, to probe further about a candidate. Now, let us go into some examples here, right? First example is like this. The question is like this. You just see, be very mindful, dear students. Can you share a time when you took an initiative to improve a process or solve a problem at work? Okay. This is basically a question relating to your leadership ability and your, your ability to be creative or rather initiative. Okay. Because these are the qualities. The leaders must take initiative. They have to be proactive. So, he is asking the question, can you share a time when you took an initiative to improve the process or solve a problem at your work, in your duty? So, how do you answer these questions, right? So, best way to do is focus on the specific instances where you identified an opportunity for improvement and then took some proactive steps for implementing. Okay? So, you have to explain a situation, your action there and the impact your action had on the ultimately the outcome. So, Now his sample answer to this very question, which the question was, mind you, again I am reading it for you. Can you share a time when you took an initiative to improve a process or solve a problem at your work? So now how will be your open-ended question answer, right? So this answer is like this. I noticed our customer service response time were lagging due to an inefficient ticketing system. I researched the alternatives and proposed a new software, and that could ultimately streamline our process. Things happened quicker. After presenting my ideas, findings to the top management, I led in implementation of this new software and also was a part of the training sessions, right? As a result, what happened? The outcome? As a result, our response time improved substantially by 40%, leading to higher customer satisfaction. So this way you are, replying with all details of your action, what was the situation and what was the ultimate outcome. Let's take yet another example. I will be citing 3 examples here, my dear students. Be mindful. Second question goes like this. This is also an open-ended question. How do you prioritize your task when you have multiple deadlines to meet? Okay, this is an obvious question, very common question asked in interview, mind you, particularly for management students, right? Also for technically qualified students. So how do you answer this question? I am reading out again. How do you prioritize your task when you have multiple deadlines to meet? So how should you answer this question? Explain your approach to managing your priorities and deadlines. Second thing you do is discuss specific strategies or tools you use to stay organized and ensure that things are completed in time. Okay? And also in the process, what you can do is you can highlight your time management skills, organizing skills and ability to remain focused, not to divert your attention. These are what you are going to share with the interviewers. Okay? So let's go to the sample answer here. How the person is responding, and you can also adapt something like that. When faced with multiple deadlines, I prioritize tasks based on their urgency and impact. I delegate the task to team members, taking their views, opinions frequently or periodically. I use a project management tool to track deadlines and set reminders for the team members. I also break down large tasks into smaller and manageable steps. Okay? And ultimately you are saying, I am also regularly assessing priorities, okay, to ensure that I meet deadlines without compromising the quality. So this is how your response ideal answer. This is also, a sample answer that I am sharing with you all students. The question was, how do you prioritize your task when you have multiple deadlines to meet? Now, one more example I will share with you today with this short video. The third, question, third open-ended question. What is it? How do you handle difficult clients and customers? You may be a, sales in marketing. Okay, so where you are dealing with the clients and customers, all the clients and customers are not that, good, right? Not very comfortable, not very easy to handle. So the question is, how do you handle difficult clients and customers? This is actually a open-ended question that you will reflect your capability, competency to handle, right, real-time clients. How do you answer this question? Focus on your approach of interacting with clients and customers, and that too particularly in not that comfortable customers. Discuss specific strategies you use for 1. To remain calm, composed, understand the concern of your customers who is complaining, and then find solution, not solution, rather solutions, right? Then you are also to highlight your own communication skill in the process. You have to also be patient. Then one has to be also customer service oriented. These are all part of your answer, mind you. You have to build your answer around these. Okay. Now, let us see the sample answer. When dealing with difficult clients, I always listen actively to understand their concern fully and attentively. Okay. Now, the very act of listening to a complaining client or a customer, soothes the person. Maybe the anger will little bit come down. For example, the person is stating, a client was upset about delayed shipment. Here is an example he is citing. Why the client was upset? Because the consignment reached him late. So he says a client was upset about the delayed shipment. So what he did? I empathized with their frustration, explained the cause of the delay in shipment, and provided a realistic new timeline or time frame. Okay, this is what he says, that this was his action, right? I keep my options open also in such type of cases. I offered a discount on their next order as a part of goodwill gesture, right? Such approach often help to de-escalate the situation and maintain a positive relationship. So I have shared with you, dear students, 3 examples of how do you respond to 3 behavioral, rather open-ended questions, right? Taking 3 situations, right? These are all imaginary situations, right? Now, before I conclude, dear job aspirants and young learners, right? Now, practicing is very important. So, practicing the art of responding, particularly to an open-ended interview question, can significantly enhance your chance of landing in your dream job. If you know how to respond to this type of open-ended questions, then there is much more likelihood that you will be successful. I mean, you may get selected and land in your dream job. These questions give you an opportunity to showcase not only your skill and experience, but also your ability to communicate effectively, because communication is another aspect they will be always trying to probe in you. They means the interviewers or the recruiters. Okay. Now remember, finally I say, the recruiters or the employers integrate these open-ended questions into interview session, because there are other questions also, right? There could be closed-ended questions, there could be stress questions, there could be behavioral questions, all those are there. But they deliberately integrate this type of open-ended questions into an interview session to allow them to gain deeper insight, to scan every segment of the job applicant, mind you. They want to comprehensively assess you. Okay, that's the reason why they use these open-ended questions, where there will be a lot many scope for you to describe your all competencies, right? So here I stop it for the day. We'll be continuing in yet another video next. Till then, thank you and happy learning.